My name is Tamir Orbach. I'm married and we have a 16-year-old daughter. I'm an executive at a cybersecurity company. I was diagnosed with PNH in April 2004. Initially, when I was diagnosed, I was quite reliant on the doctors who diagnosed me and listened to what they said, which is generally good advice. But over time, I also learned that not everyone knows about PNH. In fact, very few hematologists are actually specialists on PNH, and it was very important to see PNH specialists, listen to their advice, and also to get onto support groups and to resources like the AMDS website and read up about the condition so that I could navigate my experience better. The treatment certainly impacted my life a fair amount. In my case, I was diagnosed with PNH before any treatments for PNH were actually available, like Soliris and so on. And I had a pretty high clone size, meaning that I was at risk of getting a clot and so on. And I was advised to have a bone marrow transplant. So I did, in fact, have a bone marrow transplant. Unfortunately, I developed complications from the bone marrow transplant that persist until today, and many of them have a lot of similarities with PNH itself. So essentially, I had to really find a balance between work and treatment for the disease and so on. So for example, for the first few years, I didn't seek advancement into management and other positions at work. I was happy to be able to work and continue to work as an individual contributor. And only after I was able to feel better and really be a bit more comfortable with the rhythm of the treatments that I needed, did I start moving back on my career track the way that I had planned to originally. And at this point, I've got a very well-balanced life. In my case, with friends, I told them about the PNH almost immediately. I felt that I needed the support, and some of my friends absolutely came through with that support and helped me a lot. Others disappeared, and I think that's sort of a normal human trait where people just don't know how to deal with hearing that their friends have serious illnesses. But it really was helpful. At work, it was a little bit more complicated. I'm a bit of an open book, and in my case, I did decide to tell my employer exactly what was going on. So I told them not just that I had a serious medical condition, I told them I had PNH. Of course, they didn't understand what that meant, but ultimately, I did tell them, okay, I've got a serious illness, I do have to have a bone marrow transplant. And then I had to take short-term disability and then long-term disability and then come back to work. And I had to ask them to keep my position open for me, which they did, to their credit, and then came back and started working. Now, since then, with the complications of the bone marrow transplant, I've had to make the difficult decision every time I take on a new job of, do I tell that employer, hey, I do have this chronic illness, or do I not tell them? I've decided to tell them during the interview process. And the reason is simply because if I need treatments at some point, then it's not a sudden surprise to the employer. But I would caution folks that everyone is different and every employer is different, and you've got to decide what the best way to do that is for yourself. So firstly, you're not alone. There are other PNH patients out there. So find them through the AMDS and support groups and discuss with them. Secondly, it's really important to see PNH specialists, not just regular hematologists, because PNH is a very rare disease. Again, the AMDS provides a list of PNH specialists, and you can go and see those. And finally, there is already a treatment for PNH. In fact, there are 3 at the moment in the US, and more are coming and becoming available on the market every year. And they are very, very effective. So things are looking up, and the disease is becoming more and more manageable every year. So stay positive.